All right, welcome to Beyond the SEAF. My name is Jack Kosar, and this is effective for the May 13th, 2024. Let's get started. SEAF signals for this week: financials, utilities, and consumer staples. Consumer staples flips with industrials from last week as we maintain our financials and our utilities. Consumer staples looking for that pattern that I like to pick up, showing some strength from 8 to 3 to 2. Um, Financials having being a really top SEAF signal for this week with a ranking of 4, just barely missing out on the number one spot for the strategic quarter. Um, Energy really kind of fallen off a cliff. Other things to note here, two technical month at 11 with trading week also at 11. Really showing some weakness here broadly. Overall, though, kind of heading into the heat map, we are seeing a little bit of convergence here, which I like. Generally, like to see showing the greens kind of clump together, seeing the reds clump together. The one key thing to note, though, is we were mostly weak in terms of our inflows and outflows. Energy coming in at the strongest net flow at minus 0.23%, and financials coming in at 0.18%. Uh, that 0.18% is relatively low on average in terms of a weekly flow, and numbers 4 through 9 on the trading week were all right about zero. And what that kind of is telling me is that we talked about the shotgun approach last week. Managers seemingly put money in a bunch of different sectors without a real knowing of where, without any real conviction other than money was moving out of energy, and energy showing the conviction bet again, though a bit to the negative side this week. With everything being zero, and we have that inflation number coming up midweek this week, I believe a lot of managers didn't want to get over their skis, so they kind of kept the status from last week. Other than we seen some money starting to flow into consumer staples now for the last month, but broadly, not a ton of movement, relatively weak flows on the trading week, a bit all positive on a net basis. Overall, we were positive. Uh, so, another thing I kind of wanted to note with the fact that we see relatively weak flows, we are coming up on a convergence here on multiple of our, in terms of pieces of the overall pie. If you take all the sector spiders and eat them up, add them up to 100%, we are seeing a convergence in energy, financials, and healthcare, which is interesting. Kind of going back, looking at this historically, this tends to be an inflection point when we see some of these converging. We see a little bit of convergence down here in this bottom half chart as well. That is to say, that's it's not a predict. That chart wasn't predictive. It's not telling us that we're going to have some kind of a reversal or some kind of move higher. But along with the fact that I'm not seeing a lot of movement on the trading week in terms of flows, um, last week we saw that shotgun approach, and we had that inflation number coming out. I believe we're a little bit of a holding pattern broadly, and potentially at an inflection point, which is why I wanted to highlight here that we are seeing a little bit of convergence in the net values. Now going into our rainbow charts, I wanted to highlight energy. Energy kind of really having this steep fall off. Only mildly avoid, but that's due to the strong tactical quarter that we were, or the sorry, strategic quarter that we were seeing, holding on a little bit, but broadly, a bit of a reversal in the relative spot performance in energy. Doesn't seem to be withholding this pattern and bouncing back up. But again, we're not predicting, so we're going to end up going week by week. But money consistently flowing out of energy, and we can definitely see it on that relative performance. On the flip side, financials, real strong in financials. A nice broadening, upward trend in terms of the relative performance, seeing a little bit of a spike last week and definitely pointed in the right direction now. We did come back into neutral, but then rallied right back up into favored. So even though we're not seeing super strong flows on the weekly chart, financials being the top in the trading week, top in the tactical month, managers definitely feel comfortable in financials and really showed out on this particular chart here. Heading over into utilities, utilities having a nice relative power performance after we're not really breaking this downward trend, but we are up in this positive area, really headed up into this nice favored ranking with this relative outperformance. This has been the highest that we've seen utilities favored in definitely in the past year. So utilities a good place to be. Consumer staples coming out of coming out of left field, so to speak, coming ranking into favor. We did see this relative outperformance, kind of trend out after having a very pretty steep negative outperformance versus SPY. A little bit of pop in the relative outperformance, headed in the right direction. Consumer staples headed into favor. We want to see really to get some of this outperformance. Relative performance continue to trend. We need to see a little bit more time spent in favor. But this is a steep signal this week as money is flowing. We do seem to be seeing some money flowing into more defensive stocks. Again, not predictive in nature, but could be kind of reinforcing that inflection point that we're talking about. And we'll see what happens with this inflection or this inflation number. But money currently flowing, especially into two time periods, into consumer staples. Last but not least, just kind of wanted to highlight, industrials kind of fell off the map a little bit, or not fell off the map, but had a little bit of a pullback with a trading week ranking of 9, bringing it just outside of the top 3. We are technically still in this favored ranking, a bit ever so slightly. We have seen a nice relative performance with industrials going back to about mid-January, and just somewhere to keep an eye on. The net flow for this week was minus 0.07. It was ranked ninth, but like I said, wasn't a lot of aggression in any way or direction in terms of money. So just keeping an eye on industrials, pointed in the wrong direction in terms of its SEAF ranking, broadly keeping a nice upward trend in the relative outperformance. So, this thing could flip on a dime. We had some tactical month and strategic quarter at 4 and 3 ranking, respectively, and a quick reversal in money next week could turn this thing continue to go higher. But again, without predicting, as of right now, falls out into 4, just outside of the top 3. But industrial is still kind of holding here a little bit on the relative outperformance. Appears to be a little bit of support as we hit this about 3 times. That is all I have for this week. I appreciate you guys listening, and I look forward to breaking down the SEAF model with you all next week. Thanks.